dark ambient wind, a slow, echoing heartbeat. The narrator speaks in a low, dreadful tone. In 1867, in the dying town of Fairhaven, Pennsylvania, a boy was born who did not belong to the laws of nature. His skin never rotted, even in death. His eyes kept moving long after breath had stopped. Doctors called him a biological marvel. Priests called him a sin made flesh. And when they buried him, the ground above his coffin stayed warm for 40 years. This is the story of Timothy Caldwell, the boy science couldn't explain. Fairhaven was a coal town that lived and died by the mines. Black dust coated every window pane, every lung, every prayer. The war had ended, but the air still carried the smell of burning iron and loss. It was in this ash-gray world that Elias Caldwell, a miner turned widower, found his newborn son unlike any other. The boy did not cry. His chest moved, but there was no heartbeat. Yet the child's eyes followed the lanterns that swayed above him, curious, knowing. The midwife fled, muttering that God had not been present in that room. By morning, strange things began to happen. The milk in nearby homes turned sour. Dogs howled through the night, facing the Caldwell house. A miner reported seeing small handprints pressed into the soot around the coal pits, though no child had gone near. Still, Elias loved his boy. He named him Timothy, after his late brother, and raised him as though nothing were wrong. But something was. The child aged without aging. By 10, his skin remained unblemished. His eyes, a dull gray-blue, reflected candlelight like mirrors. Whispers spread through Fairhaven that the Caldwell boy was born of dust and silence. Ministers warned their congregations that by 1873, the Caldwell house stood like a mausoleum at the edge of town. Elias rarely left, save for coal deliveries. Those who passed by at night swore they saw candlelight flickering in every window, as if the house itself was awake. Inside, Timothy had begun speaking in ways no 10-year-old should. His voice, flat and even, often spoke of things yet to happen. He described cave-ins before they occurred, named miners who would die. Once, he predicted the death of Reverend Cole, a prediction that came true to the hour. When the Reverend's body was recovered from his study, his face was pale, his mouth filled with coal dust, though no coal was in the room. Local doctors, out of curiosity and fear, examined Timothy. His temperature was always below freezing. His pupils did not contract in sunlight. His blood, when drawn, darkened into ash within minutes. The town began keeping their distance. Children were forbidden to pass his house. Mothers made the sign of the cross when they saw him. But Elias refused to let go. He wrote to scientists in Philadelphia, begging for understanding. The miners began refusing to enter the lower shafts. They said voices echoed through the tunnels, whispers of a boy calling their names. When officials tried to investigate, their torches died within minutes. The air was cold, wet, and wrong. Something about the tunnels felt alive. Elias Caldwell vanished soon after. His last journal entry, found on the kitchen table, read, "He stands on my bed at night, watching, waiting for the dark to deepen. I think he is calling something up, something that listens from beneath." Timothy, now 16 in body but unchanged in face, was left alone in the home. Locals claimed the lights in Fairhaven flickered when he passed by. Livestock were found mutilated, bones rearranged in spirals pointing toward the Caldwell property. A farmer swore he saw Elias standing in the mine mouth, eyes hollow, skin gray, whispering, "He breathes for us now." Sheriff Lowell organized a search. 6 men went into the tunnels. Only one. For 7 years, no one spoke the name Caldwell aloud. Fairhaven became a ghost town, its mines sealed, its church boarded. Then, in the spring of 1880, Dr. Abram Voss returned, older, pale, trembling as though he had walked through years of nightmare. He arrived with crates of books wrapped in animal hide and a new title, Professor of Thanatology, the study of death. He spoke softly, always glancing over his shoulder. When asked why he had come back, he said only the boy was not a mistake. He was made. In the old tavern, he began giving lectures, warning that the human soul could be engineered if one knew the right mixture of blood, earth, and vibration. He spoke of the resonance of the dead and the hum that binds all life underground. No one dared listen long. His voice seemed to make the lamps flicker, the floorboards groan. Yet, beneath the fear, some were drawn to him. Young men. By 1882, Fairhaven had become a wound on the map, a place no train stopped, no letter reached. But rumors of what lay there spread like rot. Eventually, a small government commission arrived, led by Inspector Marin Graves, to investigate unexplained seismic activity near the sealed mines. They found the town mostly deserted, doors unhinged, clocks stopped at the same hour, 3:17 a.m. The only inhabitant who greeted them was Voss, who insisted they stay at his quarters beneath the church. He claimed he'd been keeping watch over the phenomenon. During their stay, the inspectors noted strange sounds each night. Not explosions, but slow, rhythmic breathing through the ground. When they placed instruments near the mine mouth, the readings spiked erratically, as if something alive pulsed beneath the soil. Graves ordered the area excavated. Philadelphia, 1891. Behind the facade of a medical academy, a secret group began circulating papers stamped with a symbol, an eye within a spiral. They called themselves the Society of the Glass Veil. Their doctrine was simple and horrific. Death is porous. The earth remembers. Dr. Abram Voss was among its founding members. Records recovered decades later suggest that the society believed Timothy Caldwell was not born, but assembled. They claimed the mines beneath Fairhaven were once a burial site for an extinct religious order known as the Coal Saints, who believed the body could be made immortal by binding it with mineral dust. Through stolen notes and smuggled remains, the society began experimenting with animated preservation, an unholy fusion of science and theology. Witnesses spoke of rooms filled with humming jars, organs preserved in salt that pulsed on their own, and children taken from orphanages to test the resonance. Some said the experiments produced whispers in the walls. Others claimed shadows that moved without source. Then, in December 1893, an anonymous 1898 Silver Vale, Colorado, a mining settlement newly carved from mountain stone. Among its first residents were 5 men from Philadelphia under false names. They built a facility on the edge of town, calling it the Caldwell Institute for Physiological Studies. Publicly, it was a hospital. Privately, it was a resurrection lab. Witnesses described night wagons bringing in unmarked crates. Locals heard a constant hum beneath the floors. The windows were blacked out, yet the air around the building shimmered with static as if charged. A nurse, later found wandering the mountains delirious, claimed she saw a boy's figure standing in a tank of ash water, unmoving but breathing. His eyes glowed faintly in the dark. She also spoke a voice that spoke through the walls. "You took my father. You took my name. But you cannot take my shape." Then the disappearances began again. Children from mining families vanished. In 1912, a crate of papers surfaced in New York. The documents were identified as the missing journals of Dr. Abram Voss. The handwriting was frantic, uneven, smeared with coal dust. He wrote of Timothy Caldwell as a resonant vessel, something born without soul, but capable of channeling the dead. He described the boy's body as a bridge between consciousness and decay. One passage read, "He is not alive. He is not dead. He is the echo the earth makes when we call to it in fear." Voss claimed the hum that haunted Fairhaven could be amplified. That sound could awaken what he called the deep memory, the consciousness beneath all soil. The final journal, dated 1902, contained sketches of machines, spiral glass tubes, copper organs, and something labeled Resonance Chamber 4. He wrote, "We will return him to voice. He will speak again, and through him, the world will remember what sleeps below." 22 years later, an anonymous informant sent the government a photograph. A child sitting in an empty classroom, eyes gray-blue, expression void. The file was labeled Case T. Caldwell, Specimen 4. The image was traced to an orphanage in Maryland, built on the ruins of an old coal storehouse. Staff claimed the boy had been transferred there by a private foundation. His medical records were sealed, his blood tests classified. An investigator named Clara Hensley arrived undercover. She reported strange vibrations through the floors and said the boy often stared into corners, whispering in a language that wasn't English. When she recorded his voice, the playback revealed a low hum beneath the words, the same frequency found in seismic recordings of Fairhaven's mines. One night, she followed him into the basement. There, carved into the stone, she found the same spiralized sigil of the glass veil. The boy turned to her, smiled faintly, and said, "He's almost here." Clara's report ends abruptly. 2 weeks later, the orphanage burned. All 42 children perished. In 1931, a silent film reel surfaced at Chicago estate auction. It bore no title, only a chalk marking. The footage, now lost, was described by those who viewed it as unhuman. It showed a dimly lit room, cement walls, a flickering lantern, and a child sitting in a chair, facing the camera. He appeared roughly 10 years old, though the film was dated 1867. The child did not move. His eyes tracked the camera as though aware of being observed. Behind him, the walls seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting in rhythm with the faint static on the film. At the 30-second mark, the frame distorted. A low hum rose from the speakers, an impossible sound for a silent reel. The child opened his mouth, and a cloud of coal dust poured out, forming shapes, words, syllables. One phrase appeared written across the fog. "We never died." Then the film melted, burning the reel from within. The projectionist, one Leonard Cray, was. By the late 1930s, a strange religious movement began spreading quietly through rural Pennsylvania. They called themselves the Church of Soil and Breath. Their sermons were not written in scripture, but in vibration, hymns sung at impossible frequencies that made glass tremble. Members claimed the world beneath the earth was the true heaven, and that Timothy Caldwell was its first prophet. They worshipped the hum. Witnesses described their rituals, congregants kneeling in freshly dug pits, pressing their ears to the ground, whispering, "He hears us." Infants were placed in small wooden cradles carved with spirals, left overnight beneath the open sky. By dawn, the earth around the cradles appeared freshly turned, but the babies were unharmed, sleeping soundly. The church's leader, Father Eli Voss, claimed lineage to the original doctor. He preached that death was a doorway reversed, and that the Caldwell resonance was proof that the soul could echo forever. In 1941, the newly formed Office of Scientific Research and Development discovered sealed documents labeled Project Caldwell. The files referenced a biological frequency anomaly found in Fairhaven, Pennsylvania, dating back to 1867. It wasn't superstition, it was data. The papers described measurable electromagnetic fields radiating from soil samples around the old Caldwell site. Frequency, 19 hertz, the same fear frequency later linked to panic, dread, and hallucination. Yet, these readings were strongest, not near the surface, but deep beneath the abandoned mine. One memo stated, "The hum is not external. It is alive. The vibration follows a rhythm consistent with." In 1943, wartime scientists attempted to harness the Caldwell frequency for psychological warfare. They constructed devices called resonators, metal towers designed to emit subsonic vibrations mimicking the hum of Fairhaven. Within weeks, personnel exposed to these frequencies developed identical symptoms: insomnia, auditory hallucinations, and a sensation described as breathing beneath the skin. Several subjects claimed they heard a boy whisper their names while they slept. Others carved spirals into walls, muttering, "He's learning." The project was terminated when an entire facility in Maryland suffered mass psychosis. 24 scientists disappeared, leaving only their lab coats arranged in concentric circles on the floor. The government sealed the report under Project Silence, but not before one surviving engineer, decades after Fairhaven's erasure, its surviving photographs began showing strange distortions. Faces warped. Eyes reflected other faces not present. One image, a family portrait taken in 1946, became infamous. Behind the group, in the window glass, appeared the faint outline of a child standing in the coal fields. His face was expressionless, his reflection sharper than the real subject's. Experts determined the figure was not in the negative. It had manifested during development. Researchers at the University of Pennsylvania examined the chemical residue and found coal particulates fused into the emulsion, as if the film itself had inhaled dust. The photographs multiplied. Across the state, glass windows and mirrors began warping subtly, curving inward, distorting light as if responding to invisible breath. Residents reported waking to find condensation handprints on the inside of windows, small, child-sized, and always, faintly, a hum through the glass. A boy's reflection where none should be. The newspapers called it the silver veil phenomenon. The church called it the return of breath. But those who tried to shatter the mirrors said the shards still reflected him. By 1948, surviving members of the glass veil re-emerged under a new creed, the doctrine of reclamation. They taught that humanity had forgotten its origin, that death was a correction, and the Caldwell entity was the voice of the buried world reclaiming its children. Their gatherings took place underground, literal catacombs, where the air was thick and humming. Transcripts from one captured sermon describe a chilling prophecy. The breath beneath the earth will soon match the breath of men. When they beat as one, the soil will rise, and the boy will walk again. Witnesses claimed the ground during the sermon trembled like a heartbeat. Government infiltrators were sent. None returned. Only a phonograph recording survived, capturing the last words before silence. The hum is everywhere now. It does not need Fairhaven. Then, in the winter of 1949, seismographs across the eastern United States recorded something impossible, a single pulse echoing beneath multiple states simultaneously. It wasn't tectonic. It was rhythmic. In Fairhaven's ruins, long abandoned, a small team of researchers returned to investigate. The ground was warm, soft, trembling like flesh. Instruments short-circuited. The air was thick with metallic dust. Their log entries recovered months later revealed a chilling account. We hear him beneath the soil, a child humming, perfectly in tune with the earth's vibration. The hum increases when we speak his name. The soil moves in breath, expanding, contracting. In the aftermath, the U.S. Geological Service quietly questioned residents from nearby towns. The transcripts were buried for 70 years, but fragments survive. Witness 1. We heard a boy's voice on the wind, soft, asking if we remembered his name. Witness 2. I woke to find coal, dust on my windowsill, but we don't burn coal here. I brushed it off, and the glass breathed. Witness 3. A child. He's in the ground. He's not angry. He's just lonely. When asked to elaborate, the child drew a spiral in the dirt and began humming at 19 hertz, perfectly matching the Fairhaven frequency. All witnesses later developed nosebleeds and severe insomnia. Many were institutionalized. By the mid-20th century, Project Caldwell had become a myth even inside government walls. But beneath Fort Detrick, in a sealed chamber labeled Archive 9, a team continued monitoring seismic resonance. In 1951, the hum changed pitch. It began forming words. Audio recordings capture faint syllables repeating through subsonic frequency. I am still here. I never died. I remember you. Analysis revealed an eerie pattern. Each pulse mirrored the rhythm of human speech slowed 1,000-fold. Then abruptly the hum stopped. For 72, reports from 1953 tell of spontaneous ground vibrations across the Midwest. Isolated farms where the soil heaved gently at night, as if something below were shifting in restless sleep. A family in Iowa recorded an incident. Their young daughter woke screaming, claiming the boy from the ground was standing in her room. When asked to draw him, she sketched a face, featureless except for gray eyes and soot-black tears. Weeks later, her family vanished. Only their house remained. Doors open, walls covered in spirals drawn in ash. At the same time, a new scientific article appeared anonymously in the Journal of Psychophysics, titled Cellular Memory in Mineral Tissue. It claimed that human consciousness could be stored. August 12, 1955. A late-night radio program in Pittsburgh interrupted its usual transmission with a sudden hum, low, resonant, identical to the Fairhaven frequency. The host microphone picked up faint static, then a child's whisper. "Do you remember me?" Listeners reported hearing breathing inside their own radios. Some swore they smelled coal dust. The broadcast cut off after 3 minutes. The station's engineers found the recording equipment filled with fine gray ash. The Federal Communications Commission seized all remaining tapes. Only a few seconds of the final broadcast survive. A boy's voice says, calm, deliberate.